Ichigo awakens by Talach, Chapter 21, Grudge of the Past. Grudge of the Past. With Yororichi, she watched in shock as the fire burst out of the First Division barracks. Ichigo went inside, and the entire building disappeared for a few seconds. Now an explosion tore most of the building apart. As Ichigo fled, she saw the Captain Commander pointing towards the boy as 10 pink lights appeared around him and 5 towards the hybrid. Ichigo shot off several bursts of energy at the Keto spell as they converged on him. He missed 3 as the bolts exploded on the speed cloud he left behind, but was still consumed with the explosion. No, she mentally screamed, turning back into her human state and leaped into the explosion. It was already weakening when she found him charred, bloodied, what remained of his clothes tattered, leaving only his hakama pants. He coughed blood, and she doubled her efforts, managing to get him out of harm's way. His pulse is just barely there. She analyzed, examining what she could. Shattered ribs, internal bleeding, a smoke inhalation. The old man did a number on you. I need to work fast. She carried Ichigo off in a flash step, relying on the remains of the smoke and light to cover their escape, heading straight for an old hideout of hers. Genryu Sai slowly stepped out of the fire, just in time to see the two vanish. Foolish boy, he muttered before expelling the tower of flames. At the repentant cell, here it is, Hanataro said as the trio approached the towering prison cell. The repentant cell. They slowly approached the bridge, Ganju slowing down step by step. Just beyond the door is that bitch Soul Reaper that killed my brother, Ganju thought as he felt his anger boil. Sis said that he was infected by a hollow, and she had to do it. She had to do it. He repeated that mantra in his mind, halfway between rational and irrational thought. He now knows the truth, but he's held his hate for so long. Halt! Two guards ahead yelled out as they crossed their staffs, denying passage to anyone who came by. Turn back or shut up already! Renji yelled out, getting ahead of the rest. Look, he has some business to settle with the prisoners, so let him through, he ordered to the guards, who stiffly returned to attention, sweating nervously in fear of their superior. But, Lieutenant, they attempted before the redheads glare silenced them. Understood, sir. They squeaked before opening up the gate. As the door finally opened, the guards separated to allow Ganju pass into the tower. The moment he saw her, he felt like that small brat on that cold, rainy day, the day when she appeared, coated in her victim's blood with blade and corpse in hand, cold, lifeless eyes that haunted his nightmares for weeks. He couldn't move. Nothing registered as the shock of finally confronting his brother's killer froze him. Are you one of Ichigo's friends? She asked in surprise, her voice managing to snap him out of his trance. Wait, what symbol? Rukia murmured, seeing the design on his pant legs. The explosive swivel of dissension, a symbol she knew well, the symbol of her mentor's family. You're a member of the Shiba clan? I hadn't forgotten you, Fukiakuchiki, he said coldly. I still remember you dragging my brother's body to my home. You claiming you killed him? She closed her eyes, remembering her old shame. Yes, I killed your brother, Kane and Shiba, she admitted. He hated this girl, hated this Shinigami. He may now know the reason, but that didn't quell the years of resentment he had for her. He ran out to her and grabbed her personal garments. Hanataro and the guards nearly bolted inside to restrain the man, but Renji stopped them. He recognized the look in Ganju's eyes. Someone from confronting a dark past. Go ahead, you have every right to take my life, she said, completely resigned, ready to lose her life. That just pissed off the Shiba man even more. Why? He growled out, feeling the barest hint of restraint holding him back from cutting her throat. Why did you kill my brother? He decided that her answer would settle this. They said he was fighting a hollow, but he died by a sword, and you claimed to be his killer. Why? He demanded again. He saw the look in her eyes, the dead guilt in her, covered by a robotic mask, and completely resigned to her eventual death for her by perceived crimes. He wanted Haughty, he wanted condense, he wanted condense, he wanted condensing. He wanted something other than her own guilt over what happened. There was nothing for him to be angry at. I had to. It was my duty, she said in the same cold, dead tone as she used when she first said, I killed him. You're pathetic, he said, releasing the petite prisoner. This is the Soul Reaper that killed my brother, he said, looking at her with disappointment. This is the protege he took under his wing, just a scared girl running from her guilt. He said, shocking Rukia. She was accepting her death sentence. How was this running? How was this running from her guilt? You don't even have the decency to confront the family of the man you murdered. You just delivered his body and left. He said, a mirthless chuckle escaping him. My brother was a proud and strong Shinigami. There had to be more than simply, I killed him. But no, you just said that and left. He turned to leave. A sad excuse of a Soul Reaper as a member of my brother's squad and of the Kuchiki family. Even Byakuga would have had the decency to face the grieving family, but you just swallow in your own guilt. He looked over his shoulder at the shaken girl. Ichigo's a better Shinigami and a better person. Why is he trying to save you is beyond me. He left the tower, returning to his companions. That was a little harsh, Reggie said to the thug, feeling a little angry at the way the man treated his friend. I thought Rukia told the Shibas what happened. Apparently she didn't. They heard the story calm tone that could only come from one person. Byakuga Kuchiki. I was standing right in front of him, right in front of them. My apologies, man of the Shiba clan, he said, one noble to another, even if he was from a disgraced family. I should have gone with Captain Ukitake when he was paying your family a visit. Had I known she was acting so disgraceful, I would have acted sooner. It's not your cross to bear, Kuchiki, Ganju said, slightly intimidated by the powerful man. It was her as a person. Nevertheless, she was a representative of the clan and has acted shamefully. The noble said as he walked to his condemned sister. Rukia, you will be executed in 3 days' time with the harshest punishment of the Soul Society, the Sokyoku, he announced, causing everyone to freeze. And Ichigo Kurosaki has been designated as kill on sight, he said, remembering the announcement after the chaos settled at the First Division. Ichigo Kurosaki has determined his collaboration with traitors of the Kotai 13 who are suspected with a desire to destroy Soul Society. He said, resigned that his sister was now doomed and accepted her fate. He swore to uphold the law, and at that moment he vowed to kill Ichigo himself. Squad 13 barracks, Ukitake and Kyoraku. So Captain Aizen is dead, Kenpachi was defeated, and even Master has acted. The sickly white-haired captain said from his bed. He had recently woken up as the announcement made its rounds to the various captains. He got the report from his old-time friend, just as the messenger showed up. The two were currently having more team, something easier of the ill man. Yeah, things are really getting hectic around here, Yushiro. Hyoraku said, taking a drink of his tea while wishing it was sake. We managed to capture 3 of the Ryokan now, and that's because they turned themselves in. They also vouched that Ichigo would not kill unless necessary, but witnesses saw that Ichigo went after Aizen with the intent to kill and admitted that he had to do it. And Master gave 3 days till Rukia is executed. Ukitaka lamented. Shame, she was a good one. I was really hoping Ichigo could save her. He felt his old friend place a hand on his shoulder, and something fell into his shihaku. This has been the way of things for centuries, Ukitake. The old man is stubborn, and Ichigo turned out to be no different than Ginju Kuko. Kyokuro said, raising from his seat. I'm going to try to appeal for a pardon on the rest of the Ryoka. Maybe we can still save some innocent souls, he said, leaving the captain of the 13 to his thoughts. After a few minutes and a quick scan to make sure he was isolated, he reached for what Kyoku dropped into his clothes. It was a small note with a very risky plan. This is an insane gamble, he said, steeling himself to do what he believed in. But I'll do it. Squad 6 barracks. To everyone else, it was a display of immaculate skill and control. Every swing of his blades swung in harmony with his movements, the perfect show of his years of training that was expected of one of his status. To a scarce few, they could tell he was distracted, furious, embarrassed traces of hesitation, too much force in some attacks, some unnecessary movements to his motions. Renji was basing it off a hunch from his experience as one of the members of the 11th squad. Being among them gave some a good insight of the moods of men. Everything all right, sir? He bravely inquired, prompting Byakuga to nearly impale his lieutenant in the throat. Renji was sweating bullets from his near brush with death by careless idiocy. Renji, the captain responded as calmly as ever, you should be more careful when approaching me during practice. Almost as if he was conversing about the weather instead of nearly dealing a life-threatening injury. Yeah, Renji stuttered, trying to calm down from the event. I'm just a tad concerned, sir. I've been your lieutenant for over a month, and this is the first time I've seen you so agitated. The captain turned to the redhead and analyzed the man. He's always been sure to control his emotions, but apparently Renji saw through some cracks. I'm going to speak plainly with you, Renji. I was hoping that Ichigo Kurosaki would save Rukia, the man said, surprising his second in command. Just like the head captain, I hold the law and peace in high regard. If someone like me ignores it, then no one else will obey it. In my life, I've broken the law twice. When I married my wife, Hisana, and when I adopted her sister into the clan, he admitted to Renji. You're married? The tattooed man asked. Rukia's your sister-in-law? Yes, Byakuga said, as calm as ever with melancholy lacing his tone. I was. She died 5 years into our marriage and begged me to find and protect Rukia. After that, I swore to never break the law again. There was a popping and stretching as the cold noble clenched his fist. I am conflicted, Renji. I must sacrifice one vow to keep the other. Ichigo was my last hope for Rukia's salvation. He would come, plead her case, and would spare Rukia her condemnation while taking a reasonable burden, a seal on his powers maybe. But that is now impossible, he said, letting more of his emotions slip out, even if it was just a little more. Rukia and Ichigo Kurosaki have been ordered to die. He raised his blade to look into his own eyes, still in his resolve. I will kill Ichigo Kurosaki with my own hands for this, Renji. Renji recognized the sense of resolve and determination, feeling it once before with Ichigo himself. That was the pivotal moment for Renji. He needed to do something. He had a gut feeling that Ichigo would still save Rukia, but if he was going to have any part in it, then he would need to be stronger. Captain, Renji called out while manifesting his Sanpakuto spirit. I've been training to achieve Bankai. Can you help me, sir? He requested, staying vague about his own intentions. Byakuga looked at his lieutenant and felt a sense of pride in his lieutenant. Very well, Renji, he said as they made their way to a more open training ground. He felt no need to train himself more than necessary. Ichigo killed a peaceful man and fought a brute to a standstill while relying on forbidden powers. He would not survive their fight, not when the captain intends to kill him. What progress could the boy make in such a short time anyway? Training grounds underneath Sokyoku Hill. Yudorichi sat patiently holding a tube that extended into the steaming spring below, the healing spring that Kisuke created there many years ago to recover after harsh training sessions, where Ichigo now lay submerged and unconscious. After his fights and the powers of the captain commander, Ichigo needed some fast recovery. His own accelerated healing, mixed with the powers of the healing waters, patched up all his external injuries, while his internal ones took some time. So here Yudorichi sat with that tube in hand so Ichigo could breathe, wait for a couple hours while her student recovered with a change of clothes, his sword, a bottle of water, and that reishi potion Kisuke made by her side. His eyes snapped open and his hands exploded from the water as he forced himself up. He stood upright and ripped his air tube out of his throat, releasing a few dry gasps and coughs as Yudorichi gave him the water. The old man wasn't in a talking mood, she stated sarcastically as Ichigo drank the life-nourishing liquid, wetting his throat. Considering everything that had happened, it was lucky that it lasted as long as it did before Yamamoto tried to kill him. Ah! He exclaimed as finishing his drink. Yeah, that could have gone better. He pulled himself out of the water and began stretching and popping his stiff joints. What happened while I was out? Sato got arrested by Kyorako. Ganju turned himself into Byakuga. Rukia is to be executed in 3 days, and you're public enemy number one, she explained. Uryu and Orihime are still roaming about, but it's a matter of time at this point before they are found and captured. They might put up a fight if the odds are good enough. Then I have 3 days to prepare, Ichigo said, reaching for a sword that wasn't at his side. He finally examined his body and noticed something he should have realized sooner. Enjoying the show, Yudorichi? Yes, I am, she said unashamedly. Happy to hear, he said before Flash stepping next to his clothes. But the show's over. He reached for his new clothes before Yurichi ran off with them. Come and get me. Training starts now. she yelled as she fled with his new Shihakusho. Ichigo had to spend the next few hours clashing the goddess of Flash while naked. With Uryu and Orihime, they kept at their mission, placed the tags while now making their way towards Sokukyu Hill, where Yoruichi said was a secret training ground that they would all meet up at. They disguised themselves as Soul Reapers as it was easier than constantly hiding from and dodging patrols. There was one close call with a guy attempting to hit on Orihime before she slapped him silly while stating she had a boyfriend. They managed to ditch the group and continued on their way to the secret training ground. They thought they had a lucky respite when darkness fell until they were caught. Hey, who are you? What division do you belong to? A Shinigami with a parted mustache and slick back hair called out to them. We're with the Would you started trying to think of an appropriate squad, but with the Sanpacto, their options were limited. They were given an overview on squad specialties, just in case of a situation like this. The fourth Orihime called out, our medical supplies ran out and we got a little lost, she said in her cutest way. Could you point us back in the right direction? She asked with a smile as the man drew closer. Why, of course, he said in a sarcastic, friendly tone. Just as soon as you tell me what self-respective medic goes around without their med kits, he said before grabbing onto Orihime's coat. And this symbol is the 12th. He was interrupted when Orihime grabbed his wrist and elbow and twisted his arm so fast there was sickening pop, and he flipped onto his side. You can look but not touch, as she sang before kicking him across the face. Just then, a group that was waiting made themselves known. Whoa, that was neat, the newcomer Shigami said. Looks like we were unneeded after all. Don't let it bother you, another one of them said. All these 11 squad guys are jerks. Us 12 division members need to stick together. They all started conversing rather happily while Uyu stayed in the back, feeling very suspicious about the whole thing. They showed up out of nowhere and don't even ask questions. Suddenly, he pulled out one of his silver Celestinidus and looked into its reflective surface, seeing a strange man about to push a button. Orihime! Trap! He yelled out, warning Orihime. Saten Kushin! Soten Kishun! She called out near it simultaneously, shooting up on a smaller barrier while trapping a Soul Reaper in her healing shield just as they were exploding. My, Kurusuchi mused excitedly while analyzing the ability that saved his worthless subordinates. What an interesting power that girl possesses. The shield soon dissipated as the damage wasn't done. What happened? One of the guys asked. I can heal any injury, Orihime declared, glaring at the captain just as Ishida stood between them. An ability to create a healing field and control barriers. How remarkable! The mad scientist exclaimed in glee. How about becoming a subject of research, girl? He asked Orihime, making offers of drug and scans while trying to mutilate her as little as possible. That's an offer I never made before, he said, sounding genuine in his lack of morality. Complete lack of empathy and a Halloween fashion statement, Uryu thought as he recalled one person Urahara warned them about as a complete sadist. There's no way she's going anywhere with you, Mayuri Kurosuchi, Uryu growled, pointing his manifested bow at him. Ah, a Quincy, he said, mildly surprised. But I've no interest in your kind boy. I've already finished my studies of you. He released a bit of his spiritual pressure when a flash of light went across his face. He turned to see Uryu there, fingers steaming from a shot. He's definitely fast and seems unaffected by my Reiatsu. Uryu Ishida, I take it? The only other one among you Ryoka that will fight captains? I am, he said before calling over to the others. Hey, you guys owe her your lives. Get her somewhere safe, he ordered, making the simple Soul Reapers act and carrying Orihime away from the fight. I think not, Midori said, shooting his arms like a grappling hook, with it segmenting, showing the metallic cable within. His eyes grew in amazement as an orange light shot off from the girl and blew apart his entire arm to the shoulder before returning to its master. That was new, he noted, looking down at the remains of his limb. Been a while since this happened. He took out a small needle and injected himself with the fluid inside, making a new arm grow out grotesquely from his shoulders. Well, I think it's fair to assume I'll have to fight you first, Quincy, he asked, turning to the glaring Uryu. I figured. With Orihime, I appreciate you guys trying to get me to safety, she said, dusting herself off. But I'd rather not be taken in by a bunch of forgettable no-rank soul reapers. No offense, she apologized to the unconscious heap of men that was her escort. Now where to go from here? How about with me, Oruhime Ino? The healer heard from behind. She turned to see a really tall, silver-haired girl with a pair of thin braids and a lieutenant's badge on her right arm. I'm Isane Kotetsu, a squad 4 lieutenant. End of chapter 21.